This clearly is a progressive amendment which gives both married and unmarried women the right to abortion as interpreted under Rule 3B. This makes India one of the most progressive countries when it comes to giving women agency over their reproductive rights. The challenges, however, is its implementation. What do you think are the potential pitfalls, both legal and social?
I think so. I think it's a very sensitive law. And what the judges have done is they have actually just, included more and more people in this definition of woman who can actually access service. So I really think it's very progressive. And what really needs to be done is to, educate the district courts, the high courts, the doctors who will be actually providing these services. And we always say this, abortion has been a right in this country for 50 years now, but it's not that people outside the big cities even talk about it. So education is the key. We need to really, think about the implementation part of it, but it's still a big thing because suddenly single people, are given rights. They can actually negotiate with doctors. And I think so that's something that we need to remember.
Okay, Advocate Thanvi, marital abuse, which means forcing a woman to bear a child against her wish or often ability to conceive and carry the child has been recognized here. Several activists are reading this as a step closer towards recognizing marital rape. Can the two be equated, or are we creating perhaps in our enthusiasm another provision which is amenable to misuse?
I wouldn't go ahead and say that there's anything to comment on the legality or illegality of marital rape at this point. In fact, the judgment itself notes that that challenge is pending and an appropriate bench is to decide. However, it is worth congratulating ourselves and celebrating this judgment over the fact that the court has taken note of an aspect of women's life that in our society often goes ignored. So I wouldn't say that it's opening up new problems immediately, but this is something that will pan out better once the implementation of today's ruling starts starts progressing.
Okay, Deepika, what exactly is your opposition to this judgment today?
Maria, not really an opposition per se. One thing is, of course, while the PIL is still pending in the Supreme Court and there had to be a deliberation upon it, today's judgment sort of makes their stand clear that probably they are going to remove the exception and bring the legislation for marital rape in India, on which I have a lot of inhibitions. But something specifically on this case that I wanted to say was, one, this was not a case of rape. This was a consensual relationship out of which there was a pregnancy and the woman wanted to terminate because the man did not want to marry her. So the judgment comes in that light. The only part that I have sort of a problem with is where the Supreme Court says that even if it's a married woman who does not want to have a pregnancy and it is a pregnancy out of a forced sexual intercourse, she has the right to abortion. So like the person speaking to me earlier said, it is going to get implemented and then the aftermaths of it will be seen. My reservation is the idea of having a child has to be a decision of both father and mother. What if it was actually not a forced sexual intercourse, but it was a separation and the woman does not want to bear a child, but the father does want to have a child? So there could be complications, especially in the marriage context.
Yes.
But as the case stands, I think this woman really wanted to terminate her pregnancy, and unmarried women should not be, of course, forced to have a child if they do not want to have to, which is definitely progressive.
If the status of marriage changes, Deepika is highlighting that, then what happens? Abha Singh, or do you think there is a need to define marital abuse now for the purpose of MTP Act so that it takes care of genuine reasons and puts a framework which will ensure safety and provide safeguards to legal abortions to reduce maternal mortality and morbidity?
Maria, I've been listening to everyone. Number one, what I feel that why does a pregnant woman need to go to the courts to get permission to get abortion done? It should be between the pregnant woman and the doctor. So ultimate victory would be when this court permissions are done away with, and it is only the married woman and the board of the doctors or the hospital which take a call. Now, secondly, coming to the marital rape part of the order,
Yes.
this is going to be a civil issue. There are two facets to it. They are not criminalizing marital rape. They are only saying for civil purposes, civil law, that is MTP, for a civil remedy, marital rape would be a clause where a woman can go for abortion. That is a forced relationship with the husband. So it does not become, I can see a lot of excitement. They're thinking that, oh, now marital rape will become a law. No, under the IPC, there's not going to be a marital rape as an offense, only under the civil procedure to make things easy, which I think is very important, because there are times when the relations between husband and wife are not good, or they are into a separation, a legal separation, not divorce, but a legal separation, like under the DV Act when restraining orders are given. So when the relations are bad and a husband forces a child on a woman, I think she's very much in her right not to go for the baby. So I think that part, of course, is really heartening. And of course, there's 4 weeks which have been removed, which is very true, because you are violating Article 14, that is equality before law and equal protection of laws. So how can you say that 20 weeks for an unmarried woman and 24 weeks for a married woman?
Then in that case, Abha Singh, you feel that it could perhaps become a tool for settling scores in marital discords and become a legal nightmare?
Because it's a civil remedy, it will not become a nightmare, because you cannot put husbands behind, you cannot put them behind bars, or even your partners, because this the 21 MTP talks of partners and not only husbands. So it is very liberating. So it is a civil dispute, and I think there could be some, they will need to work on the procedures, but it will not be a nightmare, because they're not going to be a criminal remedy to it.
Okay. And let me start taking the final comments, and I'm going to begin with you, Jasmine. Should this interpretation mean a woman's consent at any point, whether to continue with the pregnancy or not, up to 24 weeks is a must? Does this mean that hospitals and medical professionals, gynecologists in particular, have an important role?
I think so. It's the only thing that should matter is consent of the woman, and that's how the law has been. The only difference in today's judgment is they talked about forced pregnancy within a marital setting, and that's why the whole conversation is happening here. And I think that nobody should support a forced pregnancy on anybody. So in my head, this is a very progressive way, and this can actually give us more facets to discuss marital rape. And like the last speaker spoke about, it's a civil issue, so everybody gets to actually have a say in this, which makes sense.
Then how do we regulate this mushrooming of IVF clinics, which promise the moon, and social conditioning that puts a premium on women delivering a child? Jasmine, you can hear me? Okay. Please respond to this, Tanvi. This question,
Yes,
particularly to do with IVF clinics, women continue... there's a lot of pressure on a woman to deliver a baby, and even at grave risk to her own health and well-being.
See, it's a social issue. Let's look at this as step one today, because for the law to get clarified and for the society to really implement the law are two different things. Today we're at a stage where the court recognizes that this is woman's right, whether or not she wants to have a child. Like I said earlier, ultimately it will all depend on how implementation takes place. Like Ms. Singh said that, a lot of what has been said may not, be adverse.
Yes.
So even with the premium on having a child, the premium on being a mother, that's not going to get addressed by any of the rulings that have come out today.
Okay.
Let's be clear about it. That's a very social issue, and that has to be dealt with in a step-by-step process gradually as the society evolves. Today we have evolved enough to recognize that even a single woman, a woman in live-in relation, has the exact same right as a woman in a marital relationship. Thus far, we were treating married and unmarried women slightly differently. Maybe not under the act, but because of societal pressures, that's how the act was getting interpreted.